It was 2 a.m. when the call came, pulling me out of a deep sleep. The air in my small, borrowed room in Uganda was hot and still, and the sharp ringing of my phone felt like it cut through the night. I reached for it, half asleep, and answered. "Emma," my sister Rachel said, her voice smug and cold, "you need to hear this." I sat up slowly, suddenly wide awake. "I solved our little problem. I sold the house." I blinked. "You did what?" "Oh, don't act surprised," she said with a little laugh. "That house has been empty for months while you're off in Africa pretending to save the world. Someone had to take care of it. My name is Emma Chin. I'm a trauma surgeon working with Doctors Without Borders, and right now, I'm stationed in Uganda." The house Rachel was talking about wasn't just any property, it was our childhood home, the one our parents left to both of us after they died. The same house Rachel had been trying to get me to sell for over a year. I had refused every time. "Rachel," I said carefully, trying to stay calm even though my heart was racing, "you can't sell that house without my permission. I'm co-owner." She laughed. "Actually, I can. You remember that power of attorney form you signed before you left? The one you gave me in case of emergencies? I used it. The sale closed yesterday. $800,000, all cash." I froze. I had signed that form thinking she might need to make medical decisions for me while I was abroad. I never thought she'd use it to sell our parents' house. "That house is worth at least $3 million, I said, my voice tight. "Why would you sell it for so little?" "The market's bad," she said like it was nothing, "and David had an investment opportunity that couldn't wait." David, her husband, the one who always had some big idea that ended with them losing money. "You left me to deal with everything," Rachel snapped. "You ran off to Africa. I stayed behind and handled reality. You don't get to judge." She had no idea. That house wasn't just about memories or money. There was something hidden inside, something she didn't know about, something that made what she did far worse than she realized. "Who bought it?" I asked, pretending to give up. "Some development group. They're tearing it down next week to build condos," she said. Then she added, "I'll send your share of the money, minus my fee, of course." Typical Rachel, always taking more than she was owed, always making sure she came out ahead. "When is the demolition?" I asked. "Next Thursday." "What? You going to fly home and try to stop it?" She laughed. "Don't waste your time. It's done, Emma." But I was already opening my laptop and checking flights, because what Rachel didn't know, what she could never know, was what our father had left behind. Behind a hidden wall in the old house's library, there was a secret room. Inside that room was a heavy concrete safe. Before our parents died in that car crash, Dad had given me the key. I still remembered what he told me the night he handed it over. "That safe holds everything," he had said, "bank records, property titles, all the work I've done. Rachel can't handle that kind of responsibility. Promise me you'll protect it." At the time, I didn't fully understand, but after they died, I opened the safe, and what I found changed everything. Our father, the quiet man who spent his life working as a librarian, had built a secret real estate empire worth more than $50 million, dozens of properties, hidden investments, all under different names, protected carefully, and the home Rachel just sold, it wasn't just a house, it was the heart of that empire. She had no clue. I contacted Benjamin Wong, my father's old lawyer, and arranged a meeting. By sunrise, I was on a flight back to Boston. As I flew across the ocean, I thought about everything. Rachel always believed she was smarter. She always thought I was the good daughter who followed the rules, who wouldn't fight back. But this time, she went too far. When I landed, there was a message waiting from Benjamin. "Documents ready. Meeting set for tomorrow." She won't know what hit her. And then a message from Rachel. "Demolition team's doing a walkthrough tomorrow. Last chance to say goodbye." Perfect. I got to my apartment and went straight to the locked drawer in my office. Inside was the key to the safe, and copies of all the documents I'd found, property deeds, bank statements, evidence of our father's hidden empire. Rachel thought she had won, that she had sold the house out from under me and made a quick profit. But tomorrow, she would find out the truth. She hadn't just sold a house, she had thrown away the headquarters of a fortune, and made it look like fraud. My phone buzzed again, another message from Benjamin. "Are you sure you want to do this? It'll destroy your relationship with her." I thought of her voice on the phone, her laughter, her betrayal, and all the times she used my trust against me. "I'm sure," I replied, Some relationships need to be destroyed. Tomorrow would be the day Rachel learned the truth, that while she was busy scheming and stealing, I had been protecting something far bigger than she ever imagined. And when it was all over, she would understand what it really meant to lose. And I would be there to see it. The demolition crew had just arrived when things started to fall apart for Rachel. The foreman looked between us with unease, picking up on the tension in the air. "Should we come back later?" he asked carefully. "No," Rachel snapped, trying to keep control. "Go ahead with the inspection. My sister is just being difficult." But then Benjamin stepped in, calmly, professionally. He pulled out a document and held it up. "Actually, we have a court order. It stops any demolition or changes to this property until we finish an investigation. There's reason to believe the sale of this house was fraudulent." For the first time that day, Rachel looked truly shaken. Fraudulent? I had the right to sell this house. To sell a $3 million home for just $800,000, I said, quietly but firmly, without asking me, your co-owner, using a medical power of attorney to push through a sale, as if that gave you full rights to everything. David, her boyfriend or maybe more than that, stepped in with his usual slick smile. "Look, Emma, if you're upset about the price, maybe we can talk about adjusting it." I cut him off. "This isn't about money, this is about what's inside the house." Rachel rolled her eyes and gave a bitter laugh. "There's nothing inside. We emptied it out months ago." I looked at Benjamin. "Should we show them?" He nodded, handing me another document. "Ms. Chen, go ahead." I led them down the hallway of our childhood home, the wooden floors creaking under our steps. I could feel Rachel behind me, nervous now, her heels clicking too fast. "What is this, Emma?" she demanded. "You can't stop the sale, it's already done." I didn't answer. Instead, I stopped in front of our father's old bookshelf in the library, the one filled with classic literature, the one that had always been his favorite. "The sale was never legal," I said quietly, "but that's not the main reason I'm here." I reached behind the collected works of Shakespeare and felt for the hidden latch. Our father had shown it to me years ago, telling me to keep it secret. With a soft click, the bookshelf swung open, revealing a concrete room behind it. Rachel gasped. David stepped back, startled. Even the demolition foreman looked shocked. "What is this?" Rachel whispered. "This," I said, walking into the room, "is Dad's real legacy, the one he never trusted you with." I knelt down and opened a small safe embedded in the floor. It opened smoothly. Inside were folders, papers, and documents, our father's careful records of everything he'd built in secret. Benjamin began spreading the papers out on the table inside. "Your father," he explained, "wasn't just a librarian. He spent 3 decades building a private real estate empire under different names, all legal, all hidden." Rachel stared, frozen. "How much is it worth?" Benjamin didn't hesitate. "About $15 million at today's market value." David's mouth dropped open. Rachel grabbed the edge of the table like she might fall over. "And you," I said to Rachel, "just tried to sell the headquarters of this empire for less than a third of its value, to a shell company, which, based on what we found, is probably owned by David or one of his business partners." David backed away slightly, but Benjamin's assistant had already stepped in front of the door, blocking his exit. "The FBI is waiting outside," I continued. "They're very interested in how this sale happened, especially given David's history of failed investments and shady deals." Rachel collapsed into Dad's old leather chair, her voice barely a whisper. You knew all this time?" I nodded. "Dad told me everything before he died. He asked me to protect it, to wait for the right moment." Rachel looked up at me, tears in her eyes. "You didn't tell me? You're my sister." I looked at her, really looked at her, at her expensive outfit, her perfect makeup, her attitude, all her life. She had gotten everything she wanted, and it still wasn't enough. "Dad knew you weren't ready," I said softly. "He knew you'd try to cash it all in the moment you could, and he was right." Benjamin cleared his throat. "The agents outside would like to speak with both of you, about the fraudulent sale, and the use of the medical power of attorney." Rachel straightened suddenly. "It wasn't fraud, I had the document." "You had a medical power of attorney," I said, "not the legal right to sell shared property, and certainly not for a price far below its value, to someone you were secretly involved with." 6 months later, I sat in Benjamin's office, signing the final paperwork to restructure my father's empire. Rachel and David were both under federal investigation. Their accounts had been frozen, their reputation destroyed. Everything's ready, Benjamin said. The foundation is set up. The scholarship program launches next month. I nodded. I knew Dad would have been proud. Most of the fortune would now go toward helping students from underprivileged backgrounds, kids who reminded me of him. Quiet, smart, patient. Any word from Rachel? Benjamin asked carefully. Not since the indictment, I said. She tried to call a few times, angry, then crying, then begging, but after I testified, she realized there was no coming back from what she did. I had renovated the house. The hidden room was now a real office, its existence recorded and protected. We discovered the demolition company was just a front. David had planned to sell the house later for millions, using it to get loans for his next shady deal. My phone buzzed. A message from the hospital in Uganda. When are you coming back? We miss our best surgeon. I smiled. Rachel had always thought I was running away from life by going to Africa, but the truth was, I had the freedom to serve others because of what Dad had built and what I had protected. Benjamin looked up from his computer. The FBI traced everything. David had created a whole web of fake companies. Rachel says she didn't know. She knew, I said. She knew enough to be part of the scheme. There were emails, calls, bank transfers. She just didn't think she'd get caught. I stood up and walked to the window. Boston looked peaceful from above. Somewhere out there, Rachel was facing court, maybe still thinking she was the victim. Your father would be proud, Benjamin said quietly. You honored his memory, and you're using his legacy to help others. The first group of scholarship students had already been selected. They were bright, driven, just like Dad. Another message came through, this time from the real estate team. The first batch of properties had been fully renovated. They were turning into community centers, affordable housing, schools. You ever regret it? Benjamin asked. Exposing everything? You could have just stopped the sale quietly. I shook my head. Some secrets need to come out. Some lessons have to be learned the hard way. That night, as I packed for my return trip to Uganda, I found an old photo album. There was a picture of me and Rachel as little girls in Dad's library, surrounded by books. We had no idea what was hidden behind those shelves. I closed the album gently. Things had turned out so differently from what either of us imagined. Rachel had chased a quick profit, and nearly destroyed herself in the process. I had protected our father's legacy and turned it into something lasting. The next morning, just as my plane took off, Benjamin texted me. Rachel took a plea deal, 3 years in prison, restitution included. I turned off my phone and looked out the window. Boston faded into the clouds. 3 years wasn't long, but maybe it would be enough time for Rachel to realize the truth. That real success isn't about greed. It's about doing the right thing. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't about ruining someone else. It's about building something they can never destroy.